Good afternoon, everybody. It's good to see some of your smiling faces, either your portraits or your real face. So thank you for joining us for this all college meeting for this semester, just as kind of a point of business. I know everybody can't make, there's no time that we could set that everybody can make. So we will be recording this, and when we send out the newsletter tomorrow to everyone, we will include the link to that. So please tell your colleagues who weren't able to attend that they can do it. And of course, if you really want to watch it again, you're more than welcome to. So thanks again. I'm going to go ahead and start the slideshow. And there we go. All right, we should be in good shape now. I've got to try to get this so I can see as many of you as I can. All right, very good. So this is largely going to be informational on my part. I hope we can do this comfortably again in more of a mixed format with some in-person, sometime next spring. But for now, I decided it was probably best just to stick with a Zoom format, given the number of people that we have to crowd into a room. So off we go. Oops, there we are. So I want to make a couple of organizational updates and welcome Dylan Koenig, who joined us in July as our new academic advisor in the college. And he is responsible primarily for engineering and computer science. He joins a professional advisor in biological sciences. And I'm very much hoping, and it's on the radar, to add a third professional academic advisor for the other departments in the college sometime before too long. I'd like to introduce in person Logan McDougall, who's our Executive Director of College Relations. Logan replaces Miriam Dance, who many of you knew well, and although we certainly miss Miriam and her presence greatly, Logan comes to us with a great deal of experience. And Logan, I will turn it over to you for just a moment to introduce yourself and kind of talk about your role and how folks can get information to you.
All right, well, thank you. So really the big thing, I'm here to tell the world about your accomplishments. So say you receive a grant, say you publish a paper, say you get featured in a trade journal. I don't know, something cool happens for you. Well, basically, I want to hear about it. I want you to let me know so we can get that out via social media, via news releases, whatever that is. We just want to tell the world about what you've done, really to help get you, your students, and your work the recognition it deserves, quite frankly. So when you've got something to share, send me an email, loganmcdougall@isu.edu. Give me a call, 208-282-4361. Just get a hold of me somehow. There's also on the university's main Marcom webpage, there's a way you can submit ideas there for news tips and information. I check that daily, most days, couple, maybe 3 times a day. To see if anything's been submitted. But like I said, we just want to tell the world all the cool stuff that's going on here in the College of Science and Engineering, and just like I said, get you folks the recognition you deserve. So
awesome. Thanks, Logan. And please do reach out. Nothing is too small. We value all of your accomplishments, and I'll list just a very few of the accomplishments later in the presentation. And then finally, those of you who knew Rich Ballou, who was our Director of Development for about 3.5 years, Rich resigned to take another position, and we have very recently hired someone who will not join us until January by the name of Cameron Brooks. And Cameron's got a great deal of experience in academic fundraising, and I think we'll do really well with his assistance. Now I want to move on to the academic searches that are ongoing in the college. Just to give you a sense that we continue to build the team. All of these folks are being hired into lines that are retirements or folks have otherwise left the institution. And so you can kind of get a sense. chemistry, computer science, electrical and computer engineering. We're looking for tenure track positions in those departments. Math, we are moving to hire an external chair. And so we have an ad out nationally. The link to that ad appeared in last week's newsletter. Logan can include it again in this week's newsletter. If you know anybody who's a mathematician, a statistician, please share that with them, because and has some leadership experience. We're really looking for someone, as Dr. Derryberry goes on partial retirement and leaves the chair position. So we will be doing that, a couple of lecturers and another assistant professor in statistics for that department. And then in mechanical engineering, we're looking for a whopping 3 assistant professors, and mechanical engineering has really been down because of unexpected retirements and health problems and things like that. So we're really looking forward to getting that in. Dr. Bosworth says we have some really good candidates, so I'm excited about that as well. So we can also go then to, to our new faculty, and these are tenure track, and I won't read off all these names, but for those of you who find yourself on these lists, these are all the tenure track faculty who have joined since the fall of 2018 when I came in as dean. We're super fortunate to have this group of really, really talented people. There are 24 names on this list. And I want to point out, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but 12 of those tenure track faculty members are women. And so I feel really good about our intentional efforts to increase the diversity and inclusivity of the college. And again, we'll speak to that later. If we were in person, I'd ask them all to stand up, but maybe we can do that in the spring. So let's go here. And then we've got a number of faculty who are not on tenure track lines, but of course, as lecturers, instructors, visiting assistant professors are absolutely vital to the way that we run our university. And so I bring this to your attention. And again, I'm not going to spend any time reading off all the names of these great people, but even through this pandemic, even through this really difficult time, we've added to our ranks. We're bringing in great, talented faculty members who are doing innovative things in the classroom and in the research lab, who are serving the university. And it's a really exciting time. The 24 tenure track faculty members is a little bit more than a quarter of the overall tenure track lines, that somewhere between a quarter and a fifth of the overall tenure track lines that we have in the college. So, I mean, that's a big turnover of really new, exciting people coming in and replacing some very valued colleagues. Let's see. Okay, facilities. There's a lot going on the facilities front. Some of this will be relevant to a few of you. Some of it will be relevant to all of you. Certainly relevant to us here in the dean's office is sometime early in the next semester, we'll be moving over into the first floor of physical sciences. We are moving into offices on the end of the hall where physics also has their offices, but we are not evicting anybody from their faculty offices as part of this. So part of this is there's twofold things going on. One of which is when I came in as dean, at the time I came in, we had one tenure track computer scientist in the college, with 2 that were coming in that had been hired before me. And Dave Beard raises his hand as that one person. Dave, we're now up to 6 and super excited about that. But part of what my intention was in working with the Dean of the College of Business was to create, if you remember, computer science and informatics were tied together in a single department. And I felt like that from a cozy perspective, that real science and engineering directed nature of computer science was getting lost in a much more informatics and business centric type of department. There were some benefits to it, but I want to continue to grow computer science. And to do so, we had to establish our own identity. Well, part of that separation of those two departments, which was completed about a year ago, was 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago, was that we would move our computer scientists out of their offices in the College of Business, which is now where most of them reside. And Colonial Hall, there's really good offices here. We'll see that there's a renovation being planned over in this building to some extent. And the spot over in physics gives the dean's office an area with the proper reception area, which we lack now. We get all kinds of people just running down the hall, and it's not a very professional setting when we bring in outside stakeholders, industry partners, INL, other universities, et cetera. So this move will give the dean's office a much more professional setting, at the same time allow us to meet our commitments to the College of Business. We are also renovating Physical Sciences Room 106, and in that, it's a very underutilized space that's primarily being used to office some folks in health physics. It's a big giant room. We're going to make a combined computer science and electrical and computer engineering research lab and graduate student bullpen, if you will, in that space. Because we've grown computer science so much, we're growing electrical and computer engineering. In some cases, we're replacing faculty who didn't have the need for a research lab. And we're replacing them with people who have significant research expectations for tenure. So we had to create some space, and that was a very natural space. So that you're aware, we are paying for this renovation out of salary savings in this current fiscal year as the result of people who have retired or left the university in the last fiscal year that we're in cozy. We are renovating Physical Sciences 107, which is adjacent, to create physics and general cozy graduate student space in that building. There will be some slight displacement of folks as we do the renovations, but we've identified some very suitable office space for those graduate students to go live in the interim. So space changes are always tough, right? And they always create heartburn on those affected. And I fully understand that, because I'm affected as well. And I'm looking at all this stuff in my office I've got to box up. But we've tried to make this and schedule it in a way that's as least disruptive as possible, and to respect the needs for a good work environment for everyone. There is a campus-led, in other words, not a college-led or funded, but a campus-led renovation plan for a new student lounge on the first floor of Physical Sciences, on the first floor of Colonial Hall. There are also other lounges that are planned. I think Geosciences has one planned to plug in, and there may be a couple of others on there. But we're going to make some really nice student lounge space, and that's a campus-led and funded effort. And then there's a final campus-led effort to renovate Colonial Hall and to upgrade this building to some degree. And by the way, I think Logan and I both forgot to mention it at first. If you just want to message in the chat function, Logan, if he sees a question in real time that should be answered in real time, I've asked him to interrupt me. Otherwise, we'll have a Q&A period at the end of this conversation. So just direct message Logan McDougall on the chat function and ask whatever you want, and we'll get to as many of those things as we can. We've requested state funding for a number of teaching spaces. We won't know until after the legislative session the success of that. We've also requested state funding for the renovation actually that should be, I misspoke there, the basement of Physical Sciences. In April, if you could just change that on the slide so we have it correct. That's the basement of Physical Sciences for physics and engineering lab space. That basement was never really completely finished. It's got some HVAC needs. There's also some student needs. So please note that that's meant to say basement. We've requested state funding for the Engineering Research Center down on 2nd Street. The roof is in really bad shape. HVAC for plant scientists to support some of the great new researchers and existing researchers in biological sciences, among others. HVAC in chemistry, there's some real serious challenges that we've got there. And then there's this ongoing and very large request for a new biology building for Gale Life Sciences. And who knows? I mean, since I've been here, we've had plans put together and whatnot. But the folks that live in Gale Life Sciences know sort of the chronic and almost, and at some points, acute need to upgrade that facility. Should that happen, or when that happens, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, that we do get that replacement. Then the plan is for the dean's office to live in that space, and we will return the physical sciences space to the highest and best use for the college. Okay, these are some things that the chairs asked me to talk about, and I think it's very important to do so. Promotion and tenure, I just want everybody to be aware of something you might not be. I meet with every pre-tenure, tenure track faculty member annually to just discuss what's going on. So I tend to go to their office or lab space, wherever they happen to be housed, and just sit down and have a conversation and let them talk to me, not just about tenure, but about how everything's going. Are they happy here? What do I need to know that I may not? The whole bit. And what I tell them is, what I want everybody to be aware of is, what am I looking for in a successful tenure packet? I'm looking for effective teaching, right? We've got to have effective teaching and people who are in the classroom working with our students, which is our primary function in the college. I also don't want to see productive funded research, which is why making lab space for some of our new faculty is critically important. I will say, as I tell the non-tenured faculty, there's no dollar amount on what funded research is, because our disciplines are so very, very different. But I do have an expectation that people are going after significant external funding and landing some sort of funding, even if it may not be the big dollar grants that they do. And really, in going around and talking to everyone, we're spot on with that goal. Everybody's doing a great job. We've got a number of pre-tenured faculty who have landed some very significant grants. And so I'm really pleased to see the way that's going. Student mentoring, I think, is absolutely critical, and this can be undergraduate and or graduate. And you might consider that to be part of research, and some do, but I wanted to call it out specifically. I do have an expectation that our pre-tenured faculty, and hopefully all of the rest of the faculty, are engaging actively with students in some sort of a mentoring capacity, and where appropriate in the research lab is the top priority. And then service and citizenship. So we're looking for service to the department, service to the college, service to the university, some combination of there. And then, good citizens. We want good colleagues. We want folks that we can work with. So that's just a little bit of info on that. I want to talk about something which was much less fun than going around and talking to all our pre-tenured faculty. And some of you, by the way, I haven't hit yet. I've hit many of you, but if you're pre-tenured, and it's not that I've forgotten you, it's just April's going to get me on your calendar in the spring. So Dean's thoughts on program health. We went through this program health process. It was difficult for me. It was difficult for the departments. It was a lot of work. But at the end of the day, I just hope everyone can keep in mind that this is an absolute requirement, that every 5 years we do this by the state board. I tell people who will listen that if I was writing an academic management book, this would be chapter 1 or 2 in processes not to do, right? I don't like the process. I think we did a decent job on campus. I'm not being critical of our implementation. It's a hard process to implement no matter what. But our campus implementation, and we recognize this at the campus level, was challenging and imperfect. There has been some pushback by particularly the departments that ended up in the bottom 2 quintiles, which I hate. It's taking a subjective, what is a very subjective assessment, and giving it some sort of numerical meaningfulness, which doesn't really exist. But nonetheless, because of that, it was felt by some to be divisive and punitive. And that's what hurts me more than anything. I am pushing the campus. Those programs that ended up in the bottom 2 quintiles are currently required to go through a fall and spring sort of report card process. And I am pushing back against university leadership on this pretty aggressively, because I feel like it rips the Band-Aid off of the divisive and punitive feelings that some people feel placed under by doing it that frequently. And I've asked that if we have to do it for kind of continuous improvement, which the board has told us we do, that we move that to once a year. So I feel your pain on that process. And I think that the thing that irritates me as much about that process as anything is we all have room for improvement in this college. And I certainly have room for improvement as a dean. And I think all of our academic programs have room for improvement, whether that be enrollment, whether that be course offerings, whether that be collaboration or creating cohorts or whatever it is. We've all got room for improvements, even all of us. And I see my job is to encourage and support that improvement, completely independent of this program health process. So I don't think anybody in any of the chairs anyway that have worked with me in my 3.5 years here would say, oh, Scott really doesn't care if we get any better or not. No, I care a lot about if we all get better, and I want to encourage and help support that in whatever way I can. And then finally, and I think this is perhaps I don't think it's the most important bullet point, but I think it's the bullet point that I have to say in all caps, which is there is no plan based on program health or anything else to eliminate any COSI, BS, MS, or PhD programs. Okay. So any rumors that this is, that there's some obligation to cut down a bunch of these programs is simply not true. We are eliminating some associate's degree programs that were undersubscribed, well, that never had anybody in them effectively, but none of our core are we getting rid of. Okay, so I want to move on to sort of some thoughts and observations on COVID. And first of all, thank you to all of you. This has been an incredibly difficult time for everybody on the planet. And in our unique way, incredibly difficult for us as teachers and learners, and those of us, all of us, who want our students to succeed. So I really appreciate everybody, faculty, staff, for the hard work and patience that you've had through this very trying time. And I want to point out that you may have picked up from your chairs that I really pushed to have as much in-person education as made pedagogical sense, and to have anything that wasn't a natural fit for online to be in person. And the reason that is, and I just want to explain myself, is that obviously for health reasons, we have many people who are teaching things in a hybrid sense or other ways, but I push for as much as possible. And of course, we have to offer online options or other options to students who are out for health reasons, right? Because we don't want anybody coming and infecting the rest of us. But I think we have to take a look and acknowledge that most of our STEM programs are very challenging for our students, right? Or if they're not in COSI, the gen ed students and other students that we teach, the pre-health students that we teach. These are very difficult subjects for people to get through. We have the most difficult curriculum in our college of the entire university. There's just no question about that. And that face-to-face connection, you can do some things online, but I think for certain things, especially labs and hands-on courses, it's just really difficult to have an effective education for our students online, which is why I think it's just critical to do as much as we safely can during this pandemic in person. We also have to remind ourselves that our student demographic is not one of an elite school that some of you may have gone to, where the ACT or SAT average is exceptionally high and it's a selective enrollment school. We have to remind ourselves, because this college touches every student on ISU's campus through our general education courses, that these students it's essentially an open enrollment campus. And that's great. And we serve these students and we give all students an opportunity to make their lives better. And I'm exceptionally proud of that mission that we have at the university and for our college. But we have to realize that some of the students don't come to us with the skill sets that we might wish that they did, right? And to try to get some of this information into our students' understanding online, I think, is more challenging. So that's the philosophy behind why I really tried to work with the chairs to encourage in-person instruction over the past year. I think we expect, we all know this with the new variant, we expect the new and hopefully temporary normal for the spring semester, masks required, social distancing where practical. There's no talk of any change in the status of the campus going into next semester. And frankly, I don't anticipate any. So we're just going to get what we get, and we're going to have to work through it. And again, I appreciate all of you so much for doing this. I think that there have been some reports that mask usage is starting to drop on campus. I'm not asking you to be cops, but please do try not, especially in the classrooms where students are sitting together for long periods of time, side by side. Please be vigilant about requiring that the students wear masks in your classroom. So, and then obviously we all know this, that unknowns were made. There's another thing that has come up in a particularly acute way this semester, and that is communication. And when I said we all can get better in our programs, and that I won't speak for any of you as individuals, but I know as both a professional and a person that I have a lot of room for improvement. And so I don't always communicate most effectively, and I take responsibility for that. And I try to learn from it. That communication has been made more challenging by the pandemic and some of the restrictions that places on us. We're making some changes. I mentioned some of the space changes that we're making across the street from where I sit right now. We're making some curricular changes in some departments. We're doing a lot of hiring. Change is in the air, and people tend, we as a species tend to be adverse to change. And I think this is where some of this comes from. The pandemic plays a role, et cetera. But ISU is a rumor-rich environment. And I think that rumor richness has been enhanced perhaps by the pandemic. And my challenge is I try to stay out of that at all levels. But there are things that come to my attention. And the challenge with me as a dean responding to rumors is that to respond to a rumor publicly is to give that rumor life. And so I intentionally don't try to get out in front of rumors. But what I do ask is that if you're picking up a rumor that's troubling to you, if you feel like a colleague is being, that you or a colleague is not being properly respected or taken care of because of something that you've heard, please reach out to me directly. I'm not going to be grumpy. I'm not going to be anything. I'm just going to talk to you and address that. And people will say, well, Scott, you're so busy. I don't even know if I can get on your calendar. Well, April Robinson is a magic maker with regards to my calendar, and she will find us some time. That's a commitment to you. And so if you're hearing things that you want to discuss, whether they be rumors or not, please reach out to me directly. And you may not like what you hear, right? But I will always tell you the truth and tell you straight what's going on. What we find ourselves in at ISU, and this is not just unique to Cozy, there's a pattern here of people doing end arounds and going up to the next level or even up 2 levels above to find out about what they perceive as a problem in Cozy. And then I get a call from the president's office or the provost saying, what the hell are you doing, Snyder? And it turns out that I've tried very hard to communicate what I'm doing to the affected party, or that it's just a spurious rumor that has no basis in fact. So I would ask that if you are upset about something, rather than going around me or around your department chair, please work locally. That doesn't mean if you're not satisfied with the answer I give you, that I think that you shouldn't go talk to somebody in a more elevated position, not at all. But I would really just appreciate the courtesy of reaching out to me so that I can talk to you face to face, email. I will meet with you as an individual. I will meet with you in a group or a department. And that communication is really important to me because sometimes I just don't know what's bothering people. until I hear about it from some other channel. And by then it's much more difficult to deal with. So please reach out. I didn't have to be a problem either. I'm also happy to hear your thoughts and ideas. We're going to be setting some college priorities that are independent of the priorities I will talk about. They're more concrete priorities and more project-oriented priorities in the spring. And I want to hear about that. We'll have a forum to discuss that, but I want to hear about those ideas from you. And then also be aware that my situational awareness of campus issues, politics, and policies is oftentimes not that great. I mean, I found out about the provost decision an hour before the email went out to the entire campus, and that's fine. But what that also means is you may come to me, and I'm not trying to hide anything from you. It's just that there are many things that go on at ISU that I'm simply don't have situational awareness on. All right, so through that, I wanted to talk just really briefly about, just to show you some numbers and some trends on a few different things, one of which is research activity. I am super pleased that we really have had a decent upward tick. It's not a consistent trend line, admittedly, but a decent upward tick in both research awards, which are in orange. And so you can see that we had a dip in 19, but now over the last 2 years, we've gone up pretty significantly. Where do I think we can be in the next few years? I think that number in 5 years could look much more like 20 million for awards. We're doing a lot of things to try to encourage that upward trend, and I'm really grateful for all of you that have done it. The impressive thing about this is I want you to note over here 9 million in awards based on 19 million in submissions. That's not too bad. That's about 50% of the dollars that we requested coming in, and I'll take that any day of the week. That's a really good success rate. If you look at just awards and submissions as numbers, then you see that last year, 85 of the 104 submissions that we made out of the college were funded. That's unheard of. And I doubt that we will maintain that track, but congratulations to all of you who were part of that. It's really awesome. I mean, just, I was the vice president for research at my former institution for 8 years. We did not have numbers like this as an institution or in any college. So I'm really pleased with what you all are doing. And that's a bigger institution as well. So kudos on that. Just for fun, these are kind of the usual suspects for us, but NSF being our leading institution, we've had a lot of folks across the college, but I'll really give kudos to biological sciences, geological sciences for success with NSF. INL, we've had a great deal of success. Nuclear engineering kind of leads the INL funding rate, but there are numerous other departments who receive INL funding as well. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission, again, that's largely, if not exclusively, nuclear engineering. Department of Environmental Quality, Department of Interior from the federal level, the state board, and some others. Idaho Department of Transportation included in that. And this is really a strong group of funding agencies. So again, just good news and congratulations to all you that are participating in that externally funded research, and those of you who are trying to get externally funded. It's exceptionally important to the development of the college, and I'm very pleased with that. I want to just, this is really an accomplishment side. I put the trend lines up, most of which are going to be negative, not to get off on another, whoa, our enrollment is challenging, because we all know our enrollment is challenging. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But I think it's useful for everybody in the college to kind of get a sense of what the relative size of the number of majors that our different programs offer. And so I just think it's kind of interesting as we go through just to see this stuff. And I want to make sure I give us enough time, and I think I can do this. I'm not going to go, I think I won't go into the accomplishments. I will just let you, pause. I will pause for a minute, except where I can get them out. This CPhages program, for example, in biological sciences is a really innovative program by a number of our faculty up there to find new viruses, which in this time of the world is obviously super critical. Chemistry, Todd Morris is a textbook hero. And Todd, if you're on, I think you should frame this. And this is for using innovative and inexpensive, textbook delivery approaches. Chemistry, as always, is super strong with their undergraduate research, and I commend them with that. Computer science, really good stuff. A new graduate program a master's program in CS, and congrats on getting our first students in there. I think that's got some great growth potential. And 2 new certificates, a graduate and an undergraduate in cybersecurity. And you may not be aware, but Idaho National Laboratory is really the national leader, and in some ways the global leader, on cybersecurity for critical infrastructure. I mean, they pump tens, hundreds of millions of dollars into this particular thing. Dave Beard, who I see on the screen, has been very helpful and in fact critical in getting the cybersecurity certificates around. Larry Liebrock is another one of our faculty that has done Yo-Person's work on getting those around. So congrats to CS on that. Dr. Godsey, our very own, Sarah was named ISU's Distinguished Researcher, the university's top research prize. So we're super proud of her. And Paul Lenk, who has formally retired, but less formally is still and always will be very much a part of ISU, has published a really cool book for those of you who like to drive around this amazing state called The Roadside Geology of Idaho. And it just tells you, as a non-geologist, it's like, oh my God, why didn't I become a geologist? But it's a really great book. Good on that. As I said, we're searching for a new chair in mathematics and statistics. And again, remember here on the y-axis is these scales are not the same, right? So these trend lines can look a little bit, they are misleading, but it at least allows you to be able to read them. Dustin McNulty is really one of ISU's superstar researchers and is in the physics department. And there was just a piece that Logan put together about some of Dustin's work, and really, really good stuff. And Steve Shropshire in physics is an absolute hero. If we could clone Steve and have him running around presenting to high schools, I think we would solve our enrollment problems instantly. So thanks to you, Steve, for all your energy and for spreading the good word about ISU. And if you do have a desire to get out into the schools, Steve's a great resource just to chat with about how he goes about doing all that. So keep that in mind. Oh, for Pete's sakes, that didn't work. All right, sorry. We were in civil and environmental somehow. Slideshow. We'll just do from current slide, which isn't really the current slide. Okay. Sorry about this, folks. I don't quite know what happened. Okay. Yeah, I'm having a problem. Something wants to say it goes down all the time. I'm just gonna there we go. I think I've got it back. All right, let's pray. Touchdown. Okay. So I see Dr. Mishal has turned on his, Mustafa and his wife, Irene, who's also an ISU faculty member, just had a brand new baby, Johnny. So it's the first time I've seen you, Mustafa, and congratulations. We're super happy for you. We're also super proud for the work that Dr. Mishal and his team, including Dr. Savage and Jared Cantrell, have done to create from scratch this amazing disaster response complex that is housed down in the Armory building on 2nd Street and also up an outdoor facility on Alvin Ricken. And this is absolutely huge for the college and for ISU, and the team at the Disaster Response Complex, or the DRC, They brought in over 700 first responders. 20 some states, I think, are represented in that from National Guard units. So this is a nationwide resource that we're developing here and growing here at ISU. And it's training them in all sorts, indoor, outdoor, collapse structure, radiological, all sorts of training. If you ever get a chance, there's a bus that they blew up out on the site at INL, and INL donated to us, and you can do simulated rescue out of a blown up bus. It's just an amazing facility and getting more amazing. So super exciting there. And then Mustafa, I guess we picked two to highlight you on, and that doesn't, I don't mean to take away from all the other great accomplishments in the department, but this one's pretty cool too, up at CASE, the Center for Advanced Energy Studies. Mustafa won a pitch event as an approach to take INL to a carbon neutral footprint within a few years. And it was about reduced carbon concrete, which is a very big contributor to CO2 on the planet. So well done on that. Electrical and computer engineering, we've changed the name from electrical engineering to ECE. And we've added both a bachelor's and now a master's degree in computer engineering. The bachelor's will start in the fall. The master's has been approved and will probably start around the same time. So this is a way we've got some serious enrollment challenges in what used to be electrical engineering. And I think we feel as a team that this computer engineering with INL's presence and their interest in cybersecurity and other things, computer is a really great way to increase enrollment. Mechanical, some great stuff with a new robotics club. I mentioned the searches that they're doing, and some really good interdisciplinary research that's going on in that department as well. And then nuclear, our nuclear reactor, some of you may not be aware that we have a nuclear reactor at ISU. And it was down for a while, not in any dangerous way, but because we needed a new part that was hard to get, and we got the new part and it's up and running, and students train on this, and it's just an absolutely invaluable piece of technology for nuclear engineering students. And then Mary Lou Dunsett-Gauger, who's our associate dean, one of our associate deans, was the president, served a year as a president of the American Nuclear Society, which is high honor indeed. Okay, I want to talk a little bit, and I'm going to be relatively brief about this. I pulled together a group, and I couldn't have you all on it, of about 25 faculty in right before the semester started, and went through this traction process that was led by an engineering outfit in Idaho Falls called Northwind. And they're really good friends of the college, and their CEO is on our advisory board. And we got together, and I won't detail this process we could literally spend hours going through the process, but we came up with some consensus priorities and some numbers associated that I won't take the time to share with you, but maybe in the spring I can go through this in a little more detail. We got to work on enrollment, right? And that's recruitment and retention. We all know this already, but what have we done? What are some of our initiatives? We've increased the professional advising in the college and plan to continue to do so. Huge for retention. This Navigate, this new thing that's being beta tested, I think, in math and biology that you may have heard from. It's an EAB product, should allow us to track our students better. And that's a university-wide effort, and find out who's having problems so we can build lifeboats for those students to pull them into. Concerted outreach. Steve Shropshire is a poster child for that concerted outreach. We need to do it more broadly. And that outreach is to future students, to their parents, to the community as a whole. And Logan, with his storytelling abilities, is a vital part of that concerted outreach. But so are all of you if you choose to engage. And then we're doing some rethinking of curricula right now, particularly with regards to engineering, mathematics for engineers, for engineering majors. Inclusivity is a huge component, and I can't tell you how proud I am of the fact that in the STEM disciplines, half of our tenure track hires since I've been dean have been women. And that full credit to the departments, but we've also done some things at the college level to make certain that the hiring processes that we go through are looking for and including a diverse set of candidates as we go through that hiring process. So that's very important to me. We've created a scholarship fund that's now has about $500,000 in it called STEM is You. This was originally intended to support students with scholarships who are in groups underrepresented in the STEM fields. We have been told by both the feds and the states that we can't do that. And you see me winking. So we're going to forget, we're not going to formally do it in the way that I had hoped, but I still hope that we can include students who are really in need, because it's challenging to have both the feds under the previous presidential administration and the state. And you saw some of what happened in Boise in the last legislative session tell us that we can't target students who we really need to pull into these STEM disciplines to increase our numbers, to increase the quality of life for a broad diversity of students. So we'll work on that. I hope to see some turn back on that at the federal level at some point. Faculty mentoring, departmental efforts. Some departments have really good, programs for junior faculty in place to mentor them. We're also working on a collaboration with BSU and U of I on what's called an ASSERT grant. And if you look at BSU's website and type in ASSERT, it's a mentoring program aimed at a variety of different faculty. There's an NSF advanced proposal that I'm trying to see if we can get a team together to apply for. And that's really to help women in the STEM fields move from the assistant professor level up through the ranks and not get stalled out, either leave at the assistant level or get stalled out at the associate professor level. And there are others. And if you feel like you need mentorship, and even if you're not a pre-tenured faculty, if you're in any faculty, reach out to me, reach out to your department chair, reach out to a trusted colleague, and we will get you on a path to getting just some guidance, which we all need from time to time. And I mentioned the state and sometimes federal level challenges on our inclusivity. Research, again, I think we're doing great. I've really started to focus on industry partnerships. INL's huge, of course, but I mentioned Northwind. There's a company called Energy here in town. I need to get over to Twin Falls and talk to some of the engineering firms over there. But now, if the pandemic will break for us a little bit, I think I'll be able to get on the road a little bit more and work with some of these industries to provide opportunities for our faculty and our students both. Internships are key to that industry combination. We are the top provider in the United States of America of interns to Idaho National Lab. And I'm very proud of that. The number of interns that we've been putting up there has gone up steadily over the last 3 years. And so I'm super happy with that. Collaboration within the college. We just saw an example on the mechanical engineering slide of one of those. There's a lot of collaboration that kind of constantly simmers, funded and otherwise, between biological sciences and geological sciences. And cybersecurity is big, particularly with electrical and computer engineering and computer science, but also with other departments to be brought in. And then there's inter-college collaboration, which I also really encourage. I will tell you, we have an outstanding team of deans right now. Shane Hunt in the College of Business is just absolute lights out and relatively new. Jean McGivney Burrell is relatively new in the College of Education, and she's an outstanding collaborator. Teresa Connor, who is the new dean of the College of Health, will be an outstanding collaborator and already is. And we're doing some really neat stuff with College of Business. We've worked with civil engineering in particular to build a project management certificate. Because if you look at INL's employment needs and other employment needs, they really need project managers. And so that can be a mix of business approaches, and in this case, engineering approaches to manage those processes. We're looking at doing some stuff with supply chain, which we all know is particularly relevant now. College of Business is moving aggressively into that field. We've got some cyber supply chain talent on our team, and we're looking to merge those two. And then, as I mentioned, the disaster response complex, it's not only great for COSI, but it includes folks from the Division of Health Sciences and from the College of Technology as well, and some of the stuff that they do. So we're super proud, and that's just some examples. I know there are more. We want to work on capacity building grants, STEM, MRI, major research instrumentation, NOIS grants for educating teachers. There's a bunch of stuff that we can do collaboratively, and I'm really pushing for where it makes sense, this collaborative approach. And then I've started to have some conversations about reinvigorating our technology transfer. Some of our new faculty have patents that are either pending or done. And I want to encourage not just the patenting process, but then the technology transfer and maybe licensing or commercialization in some way. And that can be really good for us. And then as space utilization, we've got a really changing environment with all our new faculty and our emphasis on research. We need to utilize our current space better. We need to get more space, right? And we need to improve the space that we need to have, that we already have. And we're doing that stuff. It's not always without its pain, but we're doing it for all the right reasons. I want to discuss the college structure at some point. The pandemic and program health have kind of frankly gotten in the way of having a productive conversation on the structure of the college. Really what I'm concerned about, everybody, is we've got 6 departments in the college that have 7 or fewer faculty in them. And that makes administratively for real leadership, long-term leadership challenges, for efficiencies of process, and for kind of boundary spanning collaborative work. And so one of the things that I really want to engage, particularly with the engineering disciplines and computer science, but it can be other disciplines as well, is the thought of having some sort of a somewhat different organizational structure while all those disciplines maintain their disciplinary identity, which is very smart. But one of the rumors that's going around is I was just going to do that by fiat and create new schools and stuff like that. Absolutely not true. We would have a very long process and series of discussions across the college about the viability of doing that before any final decisions got made. So I just wanted to address that. Fundraising is huge. We're not nearly as good as we should be at fundraising. I'm super excited to have our new development person come in. We've created STEM as You. That was a creation that Rich Blue and I stood up about 3 years ago. We've got our Dean's Excellence Fund and an infrastructure fund that we're working on to fund some of this renovation that you see in the first bullet point here. We got to get the word out. I mentioned this. We've got great examples here, and I'll leave it at that. And then my final bullet point is just a heads up. Sometime early in the spring, you'll be seeing a job description and a call for nominations and applications. Dr. Fisher, Bob, thank you so much for serving ISU for as long as you have, and we'll have a formal send-off or an informal send-off in the spring. But Bob is retiring at the end of next semester, and we're going to miss him. But we also need to have a new associate dean to take up some of the duties that Bob is currently carrying out. And that will be an internal search. We won't search that externally. So I'll be calling for that in the spring. And with that, I've tried to keep it relatively short. Is Q&A time if anybody has anything. Logan?
Right now we have no questions. So
oh, wow, I've done it all then.
So if you got a question, send it over real quick and we can get it asked.
Yeah, we'll wait for a little bit. I think the big take-home message, what I hope you're taking out of this, is we are really seriously on the move, and it's not without we're not without our challenges, and we all know that. But we're rapidly changing as a college. I think we're changing in a great direction that serves our current students and our future students. And so we went through a bad budget thing a couple of years ago, this COVID thing, this program health thing. I mean, it can be very easy, and for myself included, to get in kind of a negative place about what the future of the college and the university and our own careers and all that is. But I am telling you, I feel really positive about so much of what we're doing, and there's good stuff left to come. Logan, anything?
Still nothing.
All right. Well, I don't want to keep you for any longer. Logan, interrupt me if anything does come in.
We have one now.
Touchdown. All right.
There we go. Okay, so does the college have a particular plan to recruit plans for students?
To recruit what again?
So I get, does the college have a particular plan to recruit for students?
No. No, I own that. I frankly thought, and this is just completely candid with you, I frankly was expecting that we might see a more tailored approach to student recruitment coming out of enrollment management. And I'm not being critical of them, but we haven't, right? And the fact of the matter is, STEM students are a different kettle of fish than some of the non-STEM disciplines. And these tend to be really high achieving students in high school. They tend to be really smart, and many of them tend to have multiple choices on where to go to school. That's not necessarily the case in all of the other disciplines at Idaho State. And that's not being critical of them. It's just the reality of the disciplines, right? So enrollment management has taken a more holistic approach, which is fine. And I'm not, again, not at all being critical, but it's become clear to me with the latest enrollment management plan that came out earlier this year, I should say, that we're not going to trend as an institution towards central support of discipline-specific recruitment. So we're going to need to develop that plan. Logan is going to be an integral part to it. The challenge we've got is often budgetary, and that what we really need are human beings to implement that recruitment plan. So we're going to have to figure out what we can do with what we've got, and then what it would take to do it a little bit better. Anything else, Logan?
We don't have any other questions at this point.
All right. Well, hey, with that, folks, I really appreciate your time. It's good to see you. I hope to see you in person. Have a wonderful and safe and enjoyable holiday season. And we'll see you next year, if not before. Take care, everybody.